Hi, I'm Justin Crosby, and welcome to another episode of TellyCast. This week, I'm in Cuenca, La Mancha, which is about 2 hours or so away from Madrid. And I'm here for the Conecta Fiction Entertainment's 9th edition, where the key Hispanic markets are all coming together to talk about the trends and buying and selling content in the regions. My guests this week are two senior Banijay execs who are going to talk about what's happening in Mexico and the Hispanic US. Hope you enjoy the show. So my first guest on this week's Conecta Fiction and Entertainment special here from Cuenca in Spain, which is a beautiful town, Frank Scheuermann from Endemol Shine Boomdog. Welcome to the show, Frank.
Thank you, Justin. I'm very happy to be here and feeling very well.
Good. Well, glad to hear it. And great to have you on the show. Lots of things I'd like to get through. But first of all, let's talk about your company. Tell us about what you do at Endemol Shine Boomdog. And I think you're more involved on the unscripted side, right?
Yeah. I'm the chief content officer of the company. I'm responsible for curating the content that we acquire or develop or just take from our big catalog and take it to our clients and understand what our clients need, what these key points are for them to buy something. And that's where I'm very, very close, having a very close relationship with our clients, with the one we have now and with the ones we don't have now, to understand what we're bringing them so we can keep on producing as we've been doing in the past years, where last year we crossed the bar of 1,000 hours of production in a year with more than 11 projects. So that's kind of like my job.
Yeah. Well, you must be, I guess, one of the biggest unscripted producers in Mexico, right?
Yeah, probably in Mexico and in Latin America. We've been doing a lot of hours, based a little bit on the long running of Big Brother La Casa de los Famosos, which is like our biggest show, and we do that show in a hub. So we do it for the US Hispanic market and for the Mexican market separately.
Right. Okay. Well, let's talk about the Mexican market for unscripted. What sort of changes are you seeing? For example, over the last 12 months or so, how's the market developing? What are the major changes you're seeing?
Well, what's happening not only in Mexico but in the Latin American market for years now, and it's getting more and more towards that, is that the projects are becoming longer. Longer in a run, longer in the time span. We did this year La Casa de los Famosos for 102 episodes, 3 hours daily from Monday through Sunday without Saturdays. We do MasterChef for TV Azteca, 18 episodes, 3 hours each episode. This is like the shortest one we do, but it's 3 hours in one episode. It's tough to accomplish that. So what's happening, the biggest trend, I would say for Latin America, is how to adapt the existing formats from the European world or from Israel or from Korea and make them sufficient, solid content to make it a long show, a show with more content in it than what's normally used in other countries. And you already see it in Europe. There's already in France, they are already developing shows that are 50 episodes, like the 50 in M6 in France. It's shows that are done like our programming way in Latin America. And that programming way comes a little bit from budget. And
it's the economies of scale, right?
It's economy of scale for sure, but it's also story the way people are used to watch stories. We are a telenovela countries, so we are used to watch telenovela on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and that's what we did with the non-scripted world. We kind of like spread it out, so every day there's a little story that carries on.
Right. Okay. And so you talked about a number of formats. Obviously, Banijay and Endemol Shine Boomdog are adapting some of the world's best-known formats and best-selling formats. What is the secret ingredient for a format that's going to particularly work in Mexico or the US Hispanic market? Can you give us a sense of what is it that makes specific formats work in those territories?
Well, there is something now that I don't like that much, but it's key, is that most of our formats are celebrity driven. So we use the MasterChef VIPs, and we have the La Casa de los Famosos, Big Brother celebrities. We do the 50 with celebrities. We do a lot of shows, reality shows with celebrities. So this is a key ingredient right now, where people definitely want to watch the extraordinary people in a maybe normal situation, and or not so normal like Big Brother, but you want to see the inside of the celebrities, and this is something that's key right now. I said I don't like it because one day there's gonna be no celebrities anymore that you can watch. So we have to come up with new celebrities, and that's
the influencer market, really, isn't it? I suppose you're looking at is that what you're looking at now? Is bringing in social media stars, and
exactly,
because it also plays you talking about seeing a different side of them or in different situations. Authenticity is really the key, isn't it? Is seeing a different side of them, and that plays well to the influencer market.
Definitely. There's sometimes people that they say, why are these people famous anyway? And it's because maybe they have in a niche 2 million followers, but no other people or television viewers, they don't know them. And we had Wendy Guevara, who was our first La Casa de los Famosos winner in 2023. She had 2 million followers, but it was digital celebrity. And after that, she became a huge celebrity all over the world, all over the place, all over at least the Latin American continent.
And so some of the reason for you casting them is obviously to maintain a younger audience, right? And bring in a younger audience. Is that working? Are you seeing that these social media stars are actually genuinely bringing their audiences from their platforms, or is it more a case of you're exposing them to an existing TV audience? Is it a new audience for them?
I'm really not sure about that because, for example, in La Casa de los Famosos, we have characters like Laura Bozo. She's 73, and she's a huge young people magnet. They started making memes about her and a lot of digital content, but she's 73. So this younger audience connected with somebody who's 73, or Mario Besares last year. He is also a 65-year-old guy. And it's more about the content that they give and where the content is. The content is in the digital space. So that's why it's not only young people want to see young people. I don't think so. Okay. I think it's more how you bring it to them and where you bring it to them.
And we've seen a lot of streamers and broadcasters, or particularly streamers, looking for authenticity when it comes to country-specific commissions, for example. Is that something that you're seeing a lot of in the Latin American market in general? Do you think that the streamers are really, really going country-specific and really sort of tailoring their commissioning strategies to specific audiences rather than perhaps spreading a wider net over a particular region?
It's definitely a trend, a trend of bringing content that can be seen in Korea or wherever with local people, with local stories. And that's definitely the way to do it. They have this local term,
Yeah.
But definitely there is a story. It's a different story when it's told with different people or with the local people. There's actually a show that we are producing that was produced somewhere else, and now we're producing it with Mexican people, and it's going to be a whole different show with the same ADN.
Yeah,
but definitely that gives you a little bit of security for the buyers who need something to hold on.
Yeah. Coming back to a little bit about social video and these new audiences, and obviously it's a huge demand and popularity for social video stars, but also social video formats and content. Is that something that you're focused on at Endemol Shine Boomdog? Is that something that you're looking to create content specifically for social video channels? Is that something you're exploring?
Completely. We have our development team is now, and we have our digital team together working specifically on the target of bringing to life digital content, and we are working on how to produce this content in a cheaper way or in a most effective way that we can really bring the brands, because it's going to be a lot with brands, content that they can afford and that is specifically done for them and that goes quicker to their clients, you know.
So this is more a branded content, rebooting brands, branded
yes.
TV brands with brands.
I think it's the way to get there, that you get a brand to put the money for a cooking show. Yeah. Because a cooking show, wherever it is it on TV, on digital, or whatever, it's a very good place to put brands on, you know? So if you get the money from there, and then you have to be just creative. And if it's good, and if it travels, it will be viral, and it will be maybe bigger than something on TV, you know? It depends obviously a lot on the characters that you put in those contents.
Yeah. So you're here from Mexico. We're here at Conecta Fiction Entertainment. Tell us about what you're doing here in Cuenca over the next couple of days.
Well, I was invited because Conecta started like this new division of entertainment, which is becoming more powerful and more powerful every day, more relevant for the industry. It's like the new brother is growing, because I think for every streamer or for every platform or network, the non-scripted content became very handy. You know, it's quicker, it brings quick returns, and it works, and you can do more and more seasons. So it's happening everywhere that the scripted says, okay, we're going to open a non-scripted division. And it's happening in the agencies, it's happening with the shows, it's happening with the markets, because we are becoming more and more relevant these days, and it has to do with shorter budgets or with quicker results or whatever the buyers need.
Right. Okay. And you're part of a jury for the pitch here as well, I think.
Yeah, I'm part of the jury for the Innova Formats competition. We saw 19 formats from different parts of the world, and today there is going to be the celebration of that. Yeah. I mean, the pitches of that.
Yeah, I think there's a big prize at stake as well. I think that's there's going to be some quite a bit of funding in place.
Yeah, there's some funding. I don't remember exactly the price. I think there's 1 to 3. Place 1 to 3 will have some money incentives.
Fantastic. And you're also presenting to students and helping them how to pitch, right? Give me one tip on pitching that we can leave our audience with.
I think the biggest pitch always is to know your audience or who you are pitching to.
Know your buyer.
Is you to know your buyer, know what he needs, because sometimes you know more than what they need. I always compare it to like a doctor. You know that you're aching here, or this is not working, but you don't know what to do. And I'm the doctor, and I tell you, no, you have to do this, or you have to take this. And this is a little bit what we have to do, to get to know what they program, where they program it, how they program it, how much it costs for them, what works for them, what doesn't work for them, what works for their competition, what would they like to have. And if you know those things, then you come a little bit more prepared with something that they say, okay, yeah, this is what I need.
That's good advice. Empathy, understanding your buyer and knowing what their job is and what challenges they've got and helping them solve those.
Exactly.
Frank Scheuermann from Endemol Shine Boomdog.
We are Banijay.
Yes, great to meet you, and all the best for the rest of Conecta Fiction Entertainment.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you very much for having me here, and let's see together each other wherever.
We will. We'll meet along
another market.
We'll meet at another market one day, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Cheers. So my next guest on this week's special show from here, Conecta Fiction and Entertainment in Cuenca, Spain, is Marie Leguizamo. Marie, how are you doing?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm really well. It's a lovely, warm day. Lots of action going on here. Lots of delegates chatting with each other, meeting with each other. Tell me about what you're doing here.
Lots of buzzing. I really love that energy that you feel at these conferences, right? I really love coming internationally because I don't get that exposure to the other production companies or to the other, creatives that are here. So I love when I get the opportunity to come to Spain or internationally to really interchange ideas and see what's happening here across the globe, right?
Yeah.
Maybe take some back with me.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about Mexico and US Hispanic market, which you oversee in your role. So 2 really big markets. In terms of the slates that you're developing at Banijay, how do you approach that? I mean, they're obviously 2 connected markets, but very different markets. I mean, how do you develop slates for both? Do you look at those individually or as a whole?
We make it a point to make sure that every one of our shows feel tailor-made, that they feel that they're for not only that territory or for that buyer or for that client. So we do have things that work for both territories that we could say, okay, well, we have this format and we're able to adjust it mildly so that it works in the US Hispanic market or in Mexico or Latin America. But we do always make it a point to make those feel localized. Because if not, then it feels like copy paste, and we never want to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, well, let's talk about those markets in terms of buying. I mean, what's selling at the moment? What are streamers, what are networks looking for? Are there any trends that you're seeing in terms of that's a type of content that's hot, particularly from your catalog?
I can tell you that the trend is changing all the time. That's the change. The trend is it's going to constantly change. Our job is to be in communication with our partners, with our friends, with our colleagues to understand what's happening, right? There is always a trend for family co-viewing, for some reason. And I love that because that just means that families are together and families want to spend that time together. And I have noticed and read a lot recently about, appointment-based programming. Appointment-based, like I need to be here on Sunday night at this time, which is what we grew up with, which is what we're used to, right? So having that in mind as we're creating these programs and as we're pitching these shows, I think is really important so that we create a show that wants you to come back, that wants you to say, I want to be there at 8 p.m. on Sunday or whatever your time slot is. That seems to be the trend that I found.
So how do you define that? Because I mean, I guess you could say sports is appointment of view programming, but other than that, it's got to be noisy and it's got to be something eye catching and that the family wants to watch together. So give me some examples and what that would be.
I think the shows like we have Starstruck that's on our catalog, which is it's a music show, right? And there's cliffhangers that can be created, and there's things that are created that you want to say, oh, well, what happened? Right? What's going to happen now? Who's going to get eliminated? What's the next step? What's the next creative twist that the producers are going to come up with that you're going to surprise me with? And that's our challenge. Our challenge is to constantly take these formats that already exist and make them so that you want to come back and you want to say, well, what's going to happen? And not feel like, oh, obviously this is the guy who's going home and he's going to, no, I need to keep surprising you. I need to keep surprising the viewer. And that's part of what we're focusing on as well.
Yeah. Now you've been involved with some huge format adaptations, Temptation Island.
Yeah.
Tell me about some of the others that you've been working on recently.
Well, I'm really proud of Temptation Island because boy, oh boy, that was a difficult show to do. A little salacious, I must tell you. But LOL, Last One Laughing, is our biggest pride and joy at Banijay Mexico US Hispanic because we produce the versions for Mexico, Colombia, and Argentina.
Oh, wow.
And Mexico is the most successful unscripted format on Prime Video across the globe. So I could not be prouder of that format, what we've taken, the evolution of what that program has become. I started as a showrunner in season 2, and now I run the company that produces it. And we're now on season 7 successful seasons. Banijay has produced 13 seasons of LOL. So it's fun, you know, it just gets to be fun now. And it's going back to what I had said, surprising the viewer. You know, the format is loved and a lot of people already know what the show is. So we're constantly having to like, oh, well, what are we going to do now to make sure that those viewers want to stay? You know, we have LOL in our catalog, Temptation Island. We produced a show called Halas Adrajas. It's called Crank or Tank for Prime Video as well. We had 2 successful seasons. It was an original that came out of my office and I'm so proud of that as well. So, and more to come. We have a lot more to come and a lot more announcements later this year.
All right, fantastic. And so tell us about what you're doing at the market. I mean, obviously you're doing lots of meetings. Are you in part of any juries, or are you presenting anything? Are you on stage, or what? Tell me what you're doing.
I'm being nosy is what I'm doing. I just want to know what's going on. No. I'm very excited to announce that I'm on a panel on Thursday for women and women in this industry. I'm always such a proud advocate to be a woman in this industry, to be a woman leader, and to pave the way for the next generation. That's what Banijay is about for me, where Banijay Mexico US Hispanic is about for me. And that's what my role is for me, right? To not just thrive on the successes, but also thrive on knowing that I'm opening the doors for so many people that are coming behind me. So
thinking of, while you were talking, I was thinking about your role. I mean, it's a big role, isn't it? I mean, if you think about the populations of the US Hispanic market and Mexico as well, I mean, I don't know what it is, but it's got to be getting towards 100 million or something like that.
There's a lot of us, yeah. There's a lot of US Hispanics in US.
Which is, I mean, is there anything that you would say that particularly resonates with those markets? You know, is it that's particular to those markets that might not particularly work in other territories around the world?
100%. I think US Hispanic, and me being a consumer of US Hispanic, being a US Hispanic in the United States, I understand it so well. I understand that we are not just one pot of people. We are a plethora of different people that need to be represented constantly. It can't just be, oh, well, you know, it's a Hispanic show, so we're just going to make it Latino and blah, blah. No, it doesn't work that way. It's always making sure that you're representing each one of those voices, each one of those territories that represent what is the melting pot of the United States. That's why that works so well there, right? In a big parallel difference to what, you know, Mexico is. Mexico is a different audience. So it's tailor making these shows. It's understanding these territories. And I'm not Mexican, and I'm super grateful to have the opportunity to run a Mexican company. But what I do is I'm always relying on my team and my staff to guide me, because I know what feels right in my gut, but I don't know what works in that territory unless I listen to the people of that territory.
It's really interesting because I think over the years, and this was something I was speaking to Frank Scheuermann earlier on.
Yeah. My wonderful colleague, by the way, at Endemol Shine Boomdog. So
that's right.
I'm glad you had a chance to talk to him. He's dope.
Yeah, and we were talking about, you know, specific content for specific countries. You know, has become something that a lot of the streamers have been focusing on, whereas perhaps, you know, 10 years ago or a few years ago, you know, they might have been looking at the Hispanic market as a sort of a one huge mass, as opposed to, you know, being very specific to, because there are, you know, many markets and many specific markets. You talked about Last One Laughing and the number of different shows you're creating for each, you know, number of different territories. Do you think that's the key to success then, is really making sure that you're super serving those very distinctive country audiences?
It has been part of our success, a ginormous part of our success. You know, not only do we do that for Last One Laughing, but we also produce Temptation Island for Mexico, Chile, Brazil, and Argentina. And those hub models are also part of what has been successful, whereas for us in the efficiencies from the production part of it, you know, but having the opportunity, having the streamers give us for Prodcos the opportunity to produce that, it's literally a dream come true. I really cannot complain that, you know, I have Colombian roots. In my wildest dreams that I think that I was going to be able to produce shows for that territory. I have Argentinian friends in my wildest dreams that I think I was going to be producing a show specifically for Argentina, and that it's successful and it works. Yeah. So it's wonderful that the streamers are giving us that opportunity and giving the viewers the opportunity to see the shows that they love feel like they're theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so tell us about, you've got a new show called Star Crush, I believe.
I do.
Tell me about that.
Star Crush is our newest show. It's a development that we, Banijay Mexico US Hispanic, we did together with Carlos Ponce. who is like the heartthrob of everywhere, by the way. Anytime that I tell people I'm working with him, they're like, oh, I'm like, stop it. Stop it. But
he's a good-looking man.
He's a very good-looking man, I know, and I'm friends with his wife, so you didn't hear that. So we developed a show. It's basically a dating kind of competition to see who's really the biggest fan of all of these artists, because everyone seems to claim that they are, but who really is?
Oh, so it's a search for the superfan, right?
Basically, with a little dating component and also having the component of Carlos, who not only is an executive producer, but he's going to be part of the show. So, I mean, what else can you ask for? You have the sexiest man alive on one of my shows. Like, you got to watch.
Yeah. Well, by the way, for everybody who's listening to this, they're not sound effects. It is real thunder and lightning that's happening. So we've probably got a couple of minutes before the heavens open here.
We produced this, actually. We did. We wanted to cool it off a little bit, set the mood.
Yeah. Put a bit of drama into this interview. So just tell us about the slate that's coming up. Anything new that we should be watching out for, or anything that is going to be the next, big hit for you?
Well, we have some really exciting announcements a little bit coming up later this year. We've tapped into our Banijay catalog, so we have some shows that we are now currently localizing for the territory. So we're working on that. And I have a couple of new developments I'm going to be announcing soon. So I'm pretty excited about that. But lots of really cool, fun stuff.
All right. Well,
I think we're getting rained.
Yeah, and I can tell I'm not going to tease any interesting news lines here from you. Marie, thank you so much for joining me on TellyCast. It's been lovely meeting you.
Such a pleasure.
And as the best of luck with everything you're doing here.
Thank you. Stay dry.
Yeah. Well, that's about it for this week's show. I hope you enjoyed it. TellyCast was shot here in Cuenca, Castilla-La Mancha, near Madrid. We'll be back next week with another show. Until then, stay safe.